Stealing Focus! Hello and welcome to Stealing Focus Real Thoughts. My name is Jeff. Emily is not with us today, but we do have our good friend Brenden Solomon, as well as the wonderful Jenelle Riley.
Not Emily, sorry.
Sorry. Well, she's not Emily, but they're really close. You could say that. So we just saw Waitress at the Pantages.
So charming.
And we had some thoughts. What did you think, Jenelle?
I was sort of telling you guys, I was really resistant to this show. I think I loved the movie, and there was so much sadness around the death of Adrienne and Shelly. I just didn't know if I wanted to see a musical version of it. And there was also a part of me that was like, as you always think when they make a musical version of a movie, like, you know, how are they going to do that? Although I think that the story actually really does lend itself to a musical.
Totally.
I'm also embarrassed to admit that I was not familiar with Sarah Bareilles.
What?
I know.
That's
Revoke my Broadway card. I saw her play Ariel in The Little Mermaid at the Hollywood Bowl, and I thought she did a great job hosting the Tonys this year. And she was great in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
I didn't really know her own music.
Her pop music.
Yeah, and now I'm the biggest fan. I was pretty much up until 2 a.m. last night.
I'm super envious that you have all this music to like delve into, because I'm a huge Sarah Bareilles fan.
She's amazing.
She is really amazing, and like even I think I first heard her maybe 2010, and I was immediately hooked by the way that she writes music, the melody lines she writes, and her quirky, fun lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that they were adapting this into a musical, I kind of felt the same thing, but it's that tragic death of the writer, obviously, you know. But I was reading that the director of this musical said she thought it immediately lended itself to a musicality or a musical version. And there's no better person to do it than Sarah Bareilles. Like the way that she writes is perfect for this type of show. What do you think,
She had
Brenden?
not done a musical before, had she?
I don't think so.
Not
I don't think
written.
she's never written a musical. I've always known that she loved musical theater. She used to be a judge of that one singing a cappella show.
Oh, really?
I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
But I was
we'll
obsessed
look
with it in high school. Have you heard of the group Pentatonics?
I have actually.
They were on that show, and that's what launched them into a lot of the fame that they're in now.
okay.
And that's how Will Collier knows her. Our friend Will, who was at the theater last night,
Yes.
actually, with his husband Colin.
I didn't see him, but
it was amazing. I was like, the people that I know other than Pam that know Sarah, like, are Will and Colin. And I'm like, they're not going to be there. And they were there. It's
That's
incredible.
great.
He said the only time he had seen it was in New York when Sarah was in the show.
Which I'm sure was fantastic. I would have been,
Yes.
How perfect would she be for that role? And she kind of did like what Billy Joe did with American Idiot. Like, he didn't originate the role, he just kind of popped in later.
Okay.
You know, the lead singer for Green Day.
Except, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that terrible?
American Idiot?
I've never seen it.
Well, I didn't make any judgments. I was just putting out the
I know
facts.
some people who love it.
Really? Okay.
But it might be one of those things where it's not the best, but there's still that tight niche
Yeah.
of fans that are just obsessed with it.
Well, I saw it because Rebecca Naomi Jones is a friend of the program. She's a good friend of mine. We did
I'm
Rent
sure
together
it's
years ago. She was the original What's Her Name, and that was the character. It's so funny. You're like, what's her name? Oh, that's the character name. There is this new trend of adapting contemporary films and a lot of art house films as well into musicals, and I feel like this just hit every mark for me.
Yeah, actually, like, I was like, well, you know, it deals with domestic abuse. I don't know if that lends itself to a musical. And then I'm like, one of my favorite musicals of all time is Les Mis.
Oh, that's very true. Also
more.
Carousel on currently on Broadway.
Yes.
Nothing but abuse.
Yeah.
It's a new trend, the abuse musical.
Yeah, it's not a new thing that abuse is out there. It's
Right.
just, you know, we just need to talk about it.
I like how they handled it.
They handled it really
What I also
well.
really loved is, though we hate the abuser, you have to admit that he was kind of like surprisingly charming sometimes. Or
Do I?
people, or maybe
The
not
actor
charming.
was very-
The actor was
yes.
charming, and
such a doofus.
People- yeah.
They dialed down, I think, in the movie Jeremy Sisto, you really see him.
Yeah.
Like it's really.
right.
And
He's not like a complete villain.
Yeah,
He's
he
kind
was-
of quirky. People laugh at his weirdness. People enjoy him, and that's like it's new compared to some other musicals.
I think that was
When it comes
definitely a
to the villain.
choice, and I'm happy about choices like that because, you know, even though it comes off sometimes as like a Broadway actor playing, you know, this kind of, if you go the real thing, it gets super dark, super fast. And, you know, and his character had that same at least written into it, you know, he was also sad and depressed in the
So
movie.
pathetic, yeah.
Exactly. So there are ways, even though he's a complete asshole, to like you kind of feel bad for him a little bit at times.
At times,
or at least understand where he's coming.
I mean, you still hate him. He's really,
He still sucks.
really gotta hate this guy. But
I feel like, and again, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but the character seemed to be in the musical less than he was in the movie.
yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah, and that. Yeah, I think
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, you need to see the movie. Oh yeah.
It's been a long time since I saw it. So yeah,
I feel like he's in the movie a lot more. Like you really
he has
see
a stronger role.
How vile he is.
I think what one of the really fun things that they did in adapting this musical is really make the diner like a character, like its own thing. All the things that happened at the diner were super fun. Really inventive set designs, by the way. Transitions were fantastic. I wasn't expecting that. I thought, because sometimes you get like a show like this, it's more like people parking and barking, standing and singing their songs, or like lots of choreo. And this was kind of that mix we call singers who move well.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah. Well, it used to be singers who move well, then they just changed it to singers who move. We got those calls.
You don't even have to do it well.
It doesn't have to be well.
And you can tell that they're just decent movers.
Yeah, but having fun, and for me, it lived in the world of the show.
Yes, I agree.
And I love the two supporting characters who are her fellow waitresses in the movie.
Such strong characters.
Yeah, and again, in the movie, they were great in the movie, but it was Cheryl Hines and Adrienne Shelly, and I sort of feel like those two and Kerry Russell could all kind of play the same type.
Yeah.
And here you had like a really bold woman of color and someone who was, I think, very different from the lead role.
Yeah.
And they felt like really more. I don't just mean like physically diverse, but like the characters.
And authentic. And
it's a solid sort of musical theater thing to have like three like friends, like women who could sing and like harmonize and like I mean
harmonies, man.
Oh really?
The show had the tightest, closest harmonies.
Yeah,
loved it.
So yeah, like and also the entire creative team was women. I don't. That was kind of a big thing. I mean, obviously that's awesome. I actually worked with Nadia DiGianardo, who did the arrangements for this. Yeah, I worked with her years ago, and it was a couple years later that they started doing workshops for Waitress, and I saw pictures of her with Sarah and like Diana Paulus.
Yes.
Diana Paulus. So she's the one I was talking about earlier, who was immediately drawn to the movie. I mean, the movie came out 2007, I think. Yeah, it's been a long time. Correct. And so this has been in workshops for a while, but just only opened about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah. I didn't. It's funny. After I saw it, I was like, just listening to Jesse Mueller on the soundtrack, and and I was like, who could have beat this for songs, and also the character Ogie. I was like, that role had to kill on Broadway. Like, who could have possibly beat these people for Tonys? Because I know they were nominated, and I go online and I'm like, oh, it was the year of Hamilton.
It was Hamilton.
Never mind.
Yeah. It was a different year. They would have won a lot.
There should be an asterisk next to it. Yeah, it's not really fair.
Ogie is such a fantastic, which I don't even remember from the movie.
Yeah.
He romances the character that Adrienne Shelly played in the movie. Yeah, the quirky one.
That's Ogie.
It's a little weird, actually.
And it is.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for seriously, it started there. You know, it's like that whole thing where it's like, well, okay, persistence is one thing, but now you're just really being inappropriate.
Yeah. I mean, isn't the song called something to the extent of like, I love you so you're never going to get away from me or something like that?
Yeah. He sings it over and over.
Yeah.
But at the beginning I'm a little like, oh, not in this era, and then you just go with it, and he's so charming, and it becomes very apparent that her resistance isn't to him, it's to opening herself up to love.
Never ever getting rid of me.
Never ever getting rid of me.
Love is never ever getting rid of me. There's so many evers in there. But this guy Jeremy Morse, who played the role,
fantastic,
amazing.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, and I just remember like I knew that Nadia had worked on the music, and I love Sarah Bareilles' music, and I liked the film, so I was really excited to just experience it without really knowing too much about it.
Same, which is weird to say since I've seen the movie.
Right.
But it
had been a long time since I've seen the movie. I saw it in the theaters, like in New York. At least. And I don't know. So these things were surprises to me. Like when this guy showed up and like the song, and first of all, I knew that song because I listened to Sarah Bareilles and Jason Mraz like recorded songs of Waitress.
Oh, okay.
And I've listened to that, and it's really fun. And she sings that song. Sarah sings.
Oh, I got
funny.
Love is You're Never Ever Getting Rid of Me, and I didn't expect it to be a guy.
From listening to that.
But then when I'm watching the story, I'm like, of course this is the guy who's going to sing this song. He's so bombastic and insane.
What a good word, bombastic.
I just feel like Otherwise, because in other hands, it would have got really creepy really fast.
Really fast, yeah. It actually
But
started creepy and brought
but he
itself
really
back.
managed to make it.
And she was
kind of lighthearted.
And Dave mentioned last night, like the comedy, so good,
really good, and unexpected in places. Like there's a scene where all the three main girls, you all see them having sex with their respective others, and it was so unexpected and fun, raunchy in the middle of a very sweet, and I use that word as a compliment. A lot of people think that sweet is derogatory, but it's, in the middle of this very sweet, charming show. I was like,
very apropos for this show.
Yes, I feel this is false advertising. There was no cherry pie in the theater.
No.
They did not sell a single cherry pie, you're correct.
A single one.
Salted caramel, apple pie.
Full disclosure, Brenden works at the Pantages.
Yes, I do.
So there's lots of pie there right now.
Oh my goodness. I smell it at all times. They have like these little ovens by the merch.
They bake it there?
They cover them up. No, they're not baked there.
Oh, okay.
But they just have like one or two in there that they don't sell, but just so they can get the smell throughout the entire theater. So I smell pie all night long. They're so small and they're $10, so I refuse to buy one.
That's what we did, but he had one.
So small.
I actually didn't have one. Dave had one because it was our friend Dave's birthday. He was supposed to be here right now. He's probably on the way. He might appear later in this
We'll see, yes.
but it was his birthday last night. We're not going to hold it against him.
Right.
But yeah, he had one, but I kept the little container because it had like a little Waitress sign.
Cute too.
Yeah,
I was gonna hold it up here, but I forgot to bring it.
It's okay.
That's all right.
This is rude.
Yeah, this is where it gets awkward. No, but yeah, like when I ran into Colin and Will, they were eating theirs.
Yeah.
It's just what a fun
It is a fun show,
connection.
and usually they don't let that type of food into the theater, but for Waitress, they let people bring the pies into the theater, which just sort of adds to the experience. And when you smell the pies in the seating area while they're, performing in a diner that makes pie, it just really just enhances
it's
the
like
experience.
4D.
Is it a bitch to clean up though?
Oh, I don't have to clean it. My goodness.
Yeah.
They got a whole separate team for that.
Yeah, people got to be responsible. Let's be responsible. You can have your smell-o-vision while you're watching, but make sure you don't spill.
People are making mistakes. They are. They just don't care. They throw it all over the floor.
So Desi Oakley played Jenna, and she, I don't know where she's from. Like her accent was very Holly Hunter.
Yeah.
I was totally like Clarice Starling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Something lamb. She a lot doctor.
And
I loved
it
her
was.
accent.
Honestly, at first I was like,
right.
And then I was like, I really dug it the rest of the week because it's so different. It was such a bold choice, or if that was intentional.
And it surprises you when first you hear her sing, and then she comes out with that accent. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh, whoa, I did not think that it would be that sort of thick.
Yeah, I think that's when it surprised me too.
Because her voice is so live.
And I was a little unsure at first, but then I got into it, and it lends itself to the character because the character's got a lot to deal with. And she doesn't really. She's not cutesy. She doesn't take any shit from anybody.
She's not twee.
Right.
I was afraid she would be twee, and she has a really sad. I was actually kind of browsing through reviews the other day, and I guess when it opened on Broadway, there was one critic who was like really harsh on the character, saying like, I just have no sympathy for her because she won't leave her husband.
It's complicated. Yeah, come on.
It's not that simple.
It's not that simple at all.
And they lay out. She really thinks she has no other options, and she's also just accepted this is her lot in life.
Right.
And,
which happens a lot.
Of course,
survivors.
Yes, and this reviewer was saying like it was just too unbelievable, and I was like,
I highly disagree with that.
Pump the brakes on that.
Yeah.
Also, it was set sort of early '90s-ish.
I wondered about that. Yeah.
It was a very different time, and they kept that ambiguous. They kept the location ambiguous as well. The setting. We're not
the
sure
South.
where this takes place.
It's somewhere in the South.
But the baking contest is in Springfield, so it could be any.
It could be Illinois.
It could be the Simpsons. My first thought was Marge is going to win that. Why even go? You shouldn't even go to Springfield.
In the movie she does. It's interesting because you rarely see this where they keep building up to like she's going to enter this pie baking contest and all her problems will be solved, and they keep talking about it. So you're waiting for her to enter the contest. She never enters the contest because she goes into labor.
Spoiler.
In the movie, there's actually like a tacked on ending.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, where she wins it like a couple years later.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
In the movie, the owner
Joe.
is not the same guy as the regular.
Oh, okay.
Right?
He's not. I'm not sure. Well, okay. So this is. I was.
Joe, I don't think is the owner.
It's played by Andy Griffith.
But Andy. But he gives her money. He gives her like $200,000 something. But I like that little change. If that was a change, I'm not remembering the movie as well.
I had to keep asking Shannon and Kristen, who are very familiar with the show and the movie, like, so was that part of the movie? Because I didn't remember Ogie, which is crazy. I wouldn't remember him.
Yeah, he wasn't as memorable.
Yeah, and I kept there were so many times when I was like, oh, that part wasn't in the movie, right? And they're like, yeah, it was.
That was. Wow. So it's worth a rewatch.
And someone told me, they were like, oh, remember Joe was played by, and they said Merv Griffin. And I was like,
I don't think that's right.
No, it was Andy Griffith.
No, I know,
yeah. They caught themselves, but I was like,
that's funny.
Trying to imagine
that's
that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Goodness. So also the singing voice of the lead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whoa.
So consistent, let me tell you.
Whoa.
The music she sings is high.
Yeah.
And she belts a lot of it, which on a day-to-day basis, that's not an easy thing to sustain consistently, but she does it.
And she never leaves the stage.
She does it. Yeah, she is always on the stage, always singing.
Yeah, Desi Oakley on the tour, and I guess she's been doing it for quite a while. I just saw Catherine McPhee is leaving.
Ooh,
this was her last week on Broadway.
Okay.
Oh, was she
love to have seen her do
She
it.
was playing it. I'm not sure how long. Nadia just posted, I'm heading in to do her last show, and it was like a picture of the
I
billboard.
think they're going to have their first Black Waitress, too.
Oh, good!
Waitress 3.
Yeah, so it's Charity Angel Dawson who is Becky.
Yes, she's fantastic.
And that's the role that Kayla Settle played.
Yes, which I can so see.
It's heartening to go see a show produced, recently developed, and all this stuff that I just feel like checks all these boxes for me. Because I've been relatively disappointed with this trend of movies turned into musicals.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they happen. I'm glad that my friends are getting work. People are getting work all over.
100%,
it's great.
yes.
Sometimes I actually thought Legally Blonde, and I love the movie, but they changed so much in a good way, and I actually thought it was a huge improvement on the movie, the story at least.
Right, like that one I hadn't seen, but
that one caught me off guard.
Yeah,
talk about really being caught off guard. Because
you wouldn't expect. Yeah, you might not.
No, I think I won free tickets or something, and I was like, right, it's free, and like couldn't stop smiling for a week.
Pretty easily.
And you've probably seen it a few times.
I have, and one thing that I can say about this show in comparison to other shows is that even when I like a show, there's usually a point where I kind of like zone out a little bit.
Sure.
But when I watched Waitress for the first time, I didn't zone out, not a single moment. Mm-hmm. I was always engaged because I think that was partly because of the actors and how they're such strong characters, but also because of the transitions. They so smoothly took you to the next thing pretty quickly, gave you a little performance in between until I hopped to the next scene, and it just really kept me focused and engaged throughout the entire musical.
And I think this is a musical that works in a big space, but also I think it would play really well in 99 seat theater.
Yeah.
You could be, even though I'm so against audience interaction,
especially if she's in the audience.
You've seen that Onion article? Oh no, the actors are coming into the audience.
I haven't, but I'm going to look that up.
It's so good. But you could make it like you could actually be in a diner. You could be, I know a lot of people disparage dinner theater. I think I've seen some amazing dinner theater productions.
Yeah.
I think like this could work in that. I think it's a good show that can
Dude, this
travel.
is tailor made for like eventually doing dinner theater.
Honestly,
What's the pie of the night?
I want a slice of tomato.
I have a question. I've worked in a lot of restaurants, and I don't know of any waitresses who bake pies also.
I wonder
that. Yeah, that's very true.
I guess it's kind of a diner
That's why she's
thing.
special.
Yeah.
I mean, she's making these amazing pies, and then
like 20. She said, well, probably not 27 a day, but she was saying she makes 27 different pies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like,
well, that's probably just I'm sure that happens, like smaller towns, especially in the South. Maybe
people do multiple things.
You go.
Probably needed the money.
Yeah, you go early, you bake all the pies, then you hang out all day as a waitress.
Right.
I mean, she's way more than just a waitress.
It's funny, I did debate the title. I was a little like...
Yeah. I thought there was a couple of choice lines that came through when I was watching the show last night. I was like, well, that'd have been a good title. That'd have been a good title. That's just how my brain works. But of course, this is the name of the film. It's perfect
So just kept it
for
the
this.
same. Yeah.
It's perfect for this. You don't need to beat us over the head with the message.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did you think stood out in the cast?
Who else?
You have
stood out in the
I was thinking
I'm all about
the
Ogie.
doctor guy.
I did love the doctor. He had a lot of good,
really good.
when he first meets her. That whole interaction where she brought the pie.
Great physical comedy.
Yes, good timing.
And not afraid to take his time. I love
and that
when characters
so
and actors
important.
playing roles are able to do that.
That's when I can always know how experienced and secure someone is in their performance when they're not rushing it. They're really taking the times with each moment.
Yeah.
And
and that's in direction too,
so
and that's
important.
the polar opposite from what we saw in School of Rock, where
Sorry, I'm just having flashbacks. The actor too. I mean, we were kind of far back, so I couldn't get a good
Brian
look.
He's
Fenghart.
great.
Yeah, he was great, and like
He's so funny.
in the movie, Nathan Fillion is very hunky.
Oh,
You know,
right,
but I don't think the role was necessarily written that way.
Right.
I think because Nathan Fillion's really good at being good looking, but also self-effacing and a little dorky. But I was really pleasantly surprised
someone
by
else
how
would play
goofy.
it. Maybe a different actor maybe plays it a little bit more smooth, which I could see it being played that way as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, they mentioned that he hadn't been on sugar for 2.5 years.
Right.
That's why I figured why he was so skinny. Or spindly, whatever. But he was great. Like, what a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, the physical comedy was spectacular.
He was so just
Not too
sweet.
much.
And
too.
then he
Sweet.
had that voice too. Obviously, he had the voice. That's the reason why he got in the room. But I just was really impressed by that. I didn't really come in with any expectation from that role.
Yeah.
Like remembering what I could from the movie, but it wasn't very much.
But I'm Team Ogie for sure, which is played by Jeremy Morse.
He doesn't have a huge part. He's not always on the stage,
That
but
guy.
he steals the show.
He needs his own spin-off.
Wait, now I'm curious now because I haven't seen any other version. I never saw the Broadway version of this or any other person play that role. Like I can't imagine any other actor playing that role.
Honestly,
that dude is so quirky
so
and
committed.
different and so like weird but hilarious.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I was just sort of dumbfounded most of the time. Even I was impressed.
You can tell he's having fun. You can tell he just loves to do it.
And you can tell he's got a lot of skills. He can move. His
voice too. He was hitting some notes where I was like, I can tell that this song was not showcasing all of the incredible things that he could probably do with his voice.
Yeah.
Because he was just touching on some of those high notes and it sounded smooth. He was soaring up there. It was beautiful.
Again, an Ogie spin-off. I'm here for it.
Yes.
All right, so we have to say goodbye to our good friend Jenelle, not forever, just for right now.
Do you know something I don't?
She's got plenty of work to do, and I'm sure it's top secret. She can't tell us what it is.
Yes, it's super important. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Waitress before you go?
It's not a perfect show. Like, somebody was asking me last night because I was raving so much about how much I love the lyrics and so much I love about it, and I don't want to mislead anyone into thinking I think it's a masterpiece, but damn, it's charming, and for what it is, it's perfect. It's like one of those things where there are certain shows people are like, would you recommend this show? And I was immediately thinking of all the people that I knew would love this, starting with my mom.
Oh,
yeah. And
of course. Does she have a favorite pie? Your mom?
Probably something boring like apple. Yeah. She's also Hawaiian, so they like this thing called Lilikoi chiffon pie.
Sounds delicious.
It does, and yet I don't get it. Yeah. But I'm the worst. I don't like poi. I don't like coconuts.
Oh, okay.
I'm a traitor to the islands. Yeah.
Well, I think it's so much more than that. But it's not. Yeah, it's not like Les Mis, or it's not like.
Right. It's not epic, but that's fine.
Right.
I think when people say like I don't want to see a sweet show on Broadway, what they're saying is I don't want to pay $200 if I'm not getting fireworks. And it's such a great character piece and such great roles for women and even more relevant, I think, today than when the movie came out 10 years ago.
And I think like the ambiguous nature of the time period and where it's set, it can apply to everywhere. And I'm pretty sure, so that line where she's like, California.
Right.
Becky said that line. I'm sure they changed that.
To the audience. You should go to Los Angeles.
But I'm sure wherever they are, like you should go to Georgia or you should go to North Dakota.
Yeah. Like, wait, I thought
that's
part
hard
of
to
Georgia.
incorporate the audience.
Which, I mean, another thing that's just like a really nice touch. There were all these little like just nice touches.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool to see. And yes, it's not like this big epic show, but it's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, and like you say, you said the show is flawed, and every show is flawed.
Of course,
every show is very, very difficult to make musical theater just anyway and have it be actually good. And obviously it's all a matter of opinion, but I just really appreciated this one.
And something, I love that I'm here with 2 guys. It would have been 3, but he is probably sleeping. And I've talked to so many people who were like, I dragged my boyfriend to this and he loved it.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, I actually don't think this is like something that is divided down gender lines. I actually think there's so many things for everyone to like.
Right.
And it's always a great experience when you go to the theater and you're not expecting the world.
Yeah.
And to just see something solid that's well crafted. Yeah. Have you seen a lot of boyfriends dragged to the theater?
Oh yeah, totally. Usually for
and then, like, but there's pie.
Opera, stuff like that.
Oh God, I feel bad for them in that case.
Yeah.
So many times.
But at least with the Waitress, they leave humming a
right.
tune.
Yeah.
I think when I say flawed, I think the first act might be able to lose a couple numbers. But also at the same time I say that, and when we got out at intermission, I was like, I thought it was 9 o'clock. It's like 9:30. I can't like this is actually moving fast.
Like
so what do I know?
Oh, then that's another
show.
good sign that you're engaged is when you don't realize the time is passing.
Yeah,
like
you don't feel the need to be like, oh, what time is it?
Was that how it was that Love Never Dies? It was probably the opposite.
Girl, I could not stand that.
I was having a good time at Love Never Dies watching everyone else.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was a little that way at School of Rock.
I tell you, Love Never Dies, that show, there were a lot of people who walked out.
Really? Because when I was there,
so many
people were into it.
So yeah, that show had a lot of people walking out of that.
I took what you did there when I went to see Bat Out of Hell in London because I was looking around being like, this is so awful. And I'm looking around at these people, I just like you gave me the idea for people watching. I appreciate that.
It's fun. That's what I do. Sometimes I'm inside standing at the stage, and my favorite is to just watch the audience members just respond.
But I knew Love Never Dies would be bad. Like when I went to see School of Rock, I had like, oh, well, maybe this will be fun, and then I was like, that's more painful. Like when you go in with no expectations, you can be pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
Well, I think School of Rock is. The only good things about it were directly from the movie. The only good songs from it really were from the movie.
And the kids were talented. The kids were wonderful.
And the kids.
Yes.
But that, it was to me, these are just opposites on opposite ends of the spectrum. This is when it's done right, and that's when it really could have used,
could be better.
Some different creative input. I don't know. Forgive me, Mr. Sir Lloyd Webber.
He's doing fine.
He's doing fine. Yes, he'll be all right.
Yeah. He's lying on a pile of money somewhere.
Yes.
Like,
at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's not flipping through channels and going, how dare they?
Right.
Anyway, so let's just say goodbye.
Thank
I know you gotta
you.
go. Everybody just wave bye.
I have to go make a long drive, during which I will listen to, I can't believe I've been listening to this song all night. How can I not remember the name?
Never, ever,
She Used to Be Mine.
Oh,
yes, that's the good one. The 11 o'clock number.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thanks again. We'll see you later, Jenelle. And just like that, Jenelle has left us, but we still have the awesome Brenden Solomon with us.
Hey.
So I want to talk a little bit about the songs, because you've been hearing this quite a bit. And I've heard, as I mentioned earlier, I heard the Sarah Bareilles, Jason Mraz basically concept recording. It was a recording that they did of the music.
Which is awesome.
But I was my only one nitpick, if I was going to be super nitpicky, before I saw the show, was "You Matter to Me." And I'm not sure if that's a line from the movie or where that line came from, but because to me, that line is the subtext.
Right.
Usually when you're singing a song, that's probably the subtext, but the line would be something different.
Right.
And I was a little bit like...
That's very true.
At the time, I was just thinking this lyric leaves something to be desired, but when I saw the show last night, I did not feel that way.
Okay, good.
And I loved it because... And I realized that what I was missing was, I think that's the point of the song. Breaking it down all the way, you matter to me. No, nothing else, like... There's something really poignant about that I was missing.
Something simple about it, but...
Yeah, because like you think about like love, is there's so much tangle, like relationships, being accountable, like all the things that come with that.
Right.
What does it boil down to? The very, very, very minimal. Yeah, the very root of it. You break it down.
Because it can get complicated. It's nice to be able to simplify it all.
It was amazing to have that moment. I was just like, I don't know. Again, this is like maybe very nitpicky before I saw the show, but I really appreciate that in the moment. That duet was beautiful.
I agree. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
It's so touching, and I love listening to it every night. I really do. I will even shush my fellow ushers, like, be quiet, This is the part. This is the part.
Just give it, I need this moment.
Yes.
No, what a beautiful song. And like, I mean, her just songs in general are incredible. Mm-hmm. And the story, like, so the Oogie character blew my mind because I just wasn't expecting that.
At all.
Is that something that you
like, what?
Do you kind of like wait for those moments to see how the audience is going to react?
I'd love to, especially after I see it for the first time, and then so I'm not paying as much attention to the production because I've seen it. I love looking at the audience and really see how they respond to it, what they kind of catch on to, because it'll be different audience to audience.
Totally.
Some people will not even respond at all sometimes, which is always weird. But majority of the time, audiences are obsessed with Ogie. Even when I'm out, sometimes I'll be outside working the stage door, and when he comes out, everybody's like, "Oh my goodness!" They are obsessed with him.
He's got big fans. Well, that's the other problem, or not maybe a problem, but the duality, the juxtaposition between like theater goers,
right?
People who have season.
And Waitress is one of those shows where it's not traditional theater goers.
So they're gonna be a little like raise an eyebrow. You know, and you know, the transition to contemporary musicals has been taking place over the last couple of decades. Right. But when you have like a younger crowd, it's always like, woo, you know, people are.
Yeah, everyone's lit.
It's not that. Yeah, it's not that theater etiquette that we remember.
Yeah, which can be difficult for the usher at times.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because sometimes when people are not used to coming to the theater, you know, they're always trying to record everything. They can be a little bit loud. It can be tough to work, but the Waitress crowd isn't terrible.
No, because these people are refined. Mm-hmm.
And they're just so engaged in the story. The characters are just so likable. You feel for the lead character so much that I think people are just kind of honed in, and not worrying about trying to record everything
and it's because it's so relatable. Like no matter, again, there is a lot of tragic elements in the story.
Yeah,
you know, it's. Really, you know, obviously it's a horrible problem all over the world, but especially in our country and specific places, and when there's not, especially a couple, you know, maybe 10, 12 years ago or 20 years ago, when there wasn't as much light brought to it. Yeah. You know, some people, a lot of people were really unhappy. Mm-hmm. And I think it shouldn't be lost on the audience that, you know, we're lucky that at least now there's more outlets for communication, right?
Stories are being told so that people can pay attention to these things,
and you know, people know that they're not alone, or like that they.
And that's why I love theater.
Yeah,
that's why I love performing in general. Yeah,
you matter to me.
Yeah,
like that's that simple. Theater, you matter.
You matter to me.
Because I remember people saying, "Oh, how are they going to turn that movie into a musical?" Like people think of musical, hey, some jazz hands, time steps, whatever. But it's like no, like these are the kind of shows that I like.
Same.
That are contemporary musicals. They're the stories where we are engaged with the characters immediately. We fall in love with them, and we want to take this journey. Yeah, and they did that. And we mentioned this about Kinky Boots. Have you seen Kinky Boots?
Yeah, I love that musical.
I mean, what an amazing show that was. And similarly, like they, from the very beginning, you know what's going on. You understand the world.
You get the dynamic. You kind of get an idea of the relationships just from the opening number. Yeah. And that's important.
And setting the world of the play like they do with this. I mean, what a great job. Diane Paulus. Nadia with the arrangements, of course. Who else? We got Sarah Bareilles, obviously. Yes. And the book by Jesse Nelson, which he adapted
from the screenplay.
Which was Adrienne Shelly. So
it's good work, guys. And you guys do a good job, the creators and the performers. Tell this serious story without making the audience feel too dark and heavy.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's a big complaint or worry that a lot of people have. Like when The Color Purple just came to the Pantages, people were like, I was afraid. If you've seen the movie, The Color Purple is like depressing.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, go see it.
But they do a very good job at balancing the serious, topics that they're trying to cover with likable characters, with a little bit of humor. And Waitress does a great job of that.
Okay. But I think this is the one that's out now is a new version, isn't it?
It's completely different staging. Wow. They really I've never seen the original, how it was staged, but this is the revival, and the staging is all very simplistic. There are no backdrops or anything. It's just that one wooden stage, and then the backdrop is just chairs into the wall, and they use the chairs and maybe like a basket or a blanket as props in order to set the scene of where they are.
Wow.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
The simplicity of it.
Minimalist theater. I think,
it lends to the story very well.
Like you said, handling the heavy topics, keeping
Yes.
it light. That's what they did in Waitress. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously they're very different stories.
Right, completely different, but
elements that are similar.
both
but,
kind of about abuse.
Right. And dealing with it and like the psychological
coming
effects
out of
it has.
it. Both strong women characters who were pushed down by the patriarchy, if you will.
See, this
But
is why
they came out of it.
If Emily was here, she'd be going off.
She
right now
would,
about
yeah. I
the
want to hear what
patriarchy.
she's gonna say.
Yeah. But again, yeah. So Waitress, go check it out.
Yes, please.
It's ending this week at the Pantages. I think they're off for 2 weeks, and then they're up in Seattle.
Yeah.
After that, and then the tour moves on. But obviously, it's on Broadway right now. I just got to say that I really loved it. And it's hard because I went in with a lot of expectation. Obviously, full disclosure again, I'm a big Sarah Bareilles fan.
Right.
Anything she does, I'm going to love it.
Same.
But, it's just really nice to see really talented people, really smart creatives make a show that just works so well on so many levels.
Right.
And again, it isn't like the epic, it's not War and Peace, it's not Les Mis, it's not Ragtime, something huge.
Yeah, not a huge spectacle.
Theatrical, but it's so perfect for what it is.
Very endearing.
Very endearing, and it's good for theaters, particularly musical theater, to have these types of shows.
Agreed.
Because this is showing people out there what you can do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the most serious topic. It doesn't have to be silly, happy, not a nonsense show.
Right.
For people to like it.
Yeah.
People can deal with this material if it's presented the right way.
Correct. 100%. Yeah.
Well, Brenden, thank you so much for joining us. Our
Thanks for having
friend
me.
Dave didn't make it, but it was his birthday last night, and he texted me actually. What did he say?
Too many drinks. Turned off his alarm.
We're paraphrasing. Dave, you were missed, but we carried on without you. We'll see you next time. But again, thanks for watching Still in Focus, or for listening if you're listening to the pod right now. We'll be back again shortly, and we have a new episode coming out soon. So thanks again, Brenden.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you soon.